Rider Japan, welcome. I just want to do a review of my R1. I've had it over 2 years now. The Shaken has expired. I haven't renewed it straight away because I'm busy with the FJ, trying to get a few niggling problems sorted, but this bike's going well. Anyway, the R1, yeah, do a review. It's all I've ridden. The FJ's only just arrived, yeah, so only just got the paperwork sorted to get it road legal and that. So anyway, the entire 2 years I've been riding the R1 around, daily driving it. I'm not someone who only uses bikes in the summer and good weather. I use it to go to work and stuff, like commuting on it. Used it for touring, used it for racing around the mountain roads, just do everything on it. The bike does everything. I use it for tooling about, just going to the shops and stuff. It's a moped, it's a race bike, it's a touring bike, everything. I really fell for this bike. It does everything and it's not uncomfortable. It depends on your body, your flexibility and your body shape and size, I guess. But for me, the only problem I had with comfort was when I went touring, like all day out on the bike, just doing mile after mile. The race bike position, you're kind of leaning forward, but then looking up, so looking forward, so your head's tilted back as you look forward down the road. That was hurting the back of my neck, because you've got the wind resistance as well, blowing your head back a bit as well, so maybe people with a thicker neck might not have the trouble, I don't know. But that was my only complaint. I don't have any trouble with my weight on my wrists or anything. I find it really comfortable. I mean, the bike on the mountain roads is where it really comes alive, like enjoying the handling, just the way it changes direction, especially now I've got this, I've been out on this a few times on the mountain roads. It's such a lump, it's such a heavy lump, like flicking it from left to right. Totally different league. They really changed the game with bikes, I think, with this one. Because this is only a 96, this is a 99, so not too dissimilar ages. It's only a little bit newer. But yeah, one incredible bike. I really like the look of it. It's amazing how old it is and how good it still looks now in 2022. This bike came out in 1998. This is a 99 model. Yeah, I love it. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about what it's like to own. Yeah, the comfort and stuff, I never had a problem with it. It does everything you want it to. Like I said, like it's a moped for going to the supermarket, it's a touring bike, it's a race bike, whatever. A few little things bother me, like, can you see that's in the sun? Neutral light just disappears. Anyone who owns this bike will confirm, these are not really bright enough. So to give you an example, you're riding down the road now, like the sunlight is on there. Hang on. Start it up. Say you turn left, like you may have forgotten to cancel your indicator. Can't really see it flashing, can you? That's actually flashing. Fuel, I tend to top up the tank when it gets to 100. This is miles. It's a weird in Japan, yeah. These bikes were destined for the UK, but they left some behind for Japan sales. So they all, like the mileage is in miles, but even if you've got it on kilometers an hour, so it's a little bit confusing. But yeah, when it gets to about 100 miles, I normally race my bike quite hard, so 100 is not empty, but it's worth just topping it up again for next time. So yeah, when it gets to about 100 miles, 110, 130, I did get stuck out once with the petrol light on. I was a bit nervous. Ended up doing like 11 miles with the petrol light on, didn't have a problem. I don't know how far you can go, probably more like 20 something. Maybe even more than that. I don't really know. I don't like pushing my luck with fuel because especially out in Japan, I'm well nervous of being stuck somewhere because my Japanese is not really good enough for calling for recovery. To have to explain where I am and what's happening and what vehicle I'm on, I can't really do it. So I'm nervous of breaking down. Talking of breaking down, this bike has proved totally reliable. Apart from a battery, which is totally forgivable. You can forgive a battery for being old. Doesn't matter what bike you're on, the battery's going to go eventually. So yeah, really good. Considering how old it is, I've had no troubles at all, apart from that battery. I did change the brake light bulbs, I changed the indicator bulbs, just for kind of maintenance, but I didn't have a problem with them. One thing I've always meant to do is get on with replacing the headlights and these, because they're just so yellowy. I imagine just a new set would be a bit brighter, or a bit whiter at least. These are really yellowy. Condition, get a few stone chips on the front as usual. I wish people see a bit of corrosion on that, on the alloy parts. I reckon just spraying that with a bit of spray oil, just give it a coating, will help it protect it. So if you've got a newer bike, get a bit of oil on a rag and just rub any exposed aluminium parts. I think it will help the finish of them, the longevity of them, if you're planning to keep the bike a long time. I wish previous owners had done that, because when I do it, it seems to bring it up really well. So I think it's quite good for like bare aluminium surfaces. Same with any like carbon as well. Like an oily rag seems to make it look like new. This is a proper oval over racing exhaust, a full titanium system, racing carbon over cam. But this was so worn out and knackered, I've got a new badge, but unfortunately I didn't realise it was smaller than the old one. So you can see where I've removed that old one and just glued that on. Used high temperature glue, it's worked brilliant. Almost didn't trust it, it's just like super glue, but heat resistant, so it's worked really well. Looking around it, Japanese bikes, they seem to be well looked after. They look after their stuff here. Litre sports bikes, not that common out here, rarely see them. They seem to love 250s and 400s out here more, even 600s, very rarely see them. So yeah, on litre sports bikes, or any bikes when I'm out at night around the city, racing all the other bikers and stuff, I tend to win a lot. I'll tell you what happens, yeah. I think, 'cause you get like Lexuses, they got like 5 litre V8s and stuff, they always want to square up to me at the lights and stuff, like they're a little bit, you can tell when someone's like pushing you, they ride in a bit close behind you, or they come to a stop a bit abruptly, or they stop a bit close to you at the traffic lights, they look across, you know, you get these kind of hints that you know they're going to pull away fast from the lights. I think high-powered sports cars do quite well against a lot of motorbikes out here in Japan, because most people are on 250s and 400s. I think they think they're going to win against me on an R1. It's a different league. Like I very rarely screw the pants off my bikes in first gear. I just kind of give it some, but gently. It's not full acceleration. Get the revs up a bit. Then in second, I'll really give it some. Nothing gets past you on an R1 in second gear. Like, I know there's McLarens and Porsche turbos and stuff, like the latest breeds of like supercars, they're mentally fast. But how often do you see them? And how often do you end up squared up with them at the lights? Very rarely. So the majority, 99.9% of cars you come across that want to race you, if you're on anything like a litre sports bike, you're going to win. That's been my experience over like 15 years of riding. What else? This one's lightly modified. I think it'd been dropped before I got it. It was all scuffed up there. I think this has been repainted a bit badly. It looks a bit matte. I stuck these on. It's a previous video. Check that out. I really like them. They really grew on me. It was sort of nervous if it's a tacky sort of thing, but I love the look of them. Got no regrets on that. What was I saying? Yeah, it was a bit damaged, so I've just buffed that back. I was thinking just mask it off and then spray it white. I don't know. I don't really notice it. It's not that important to me. I did watch a review of a guy who had one of these, like same 99 model. He was talking about the brakes. He's sort of complaining about the brakes. They're not as good as like modern standard. Let me tell you something, these brakes are more than adequate for any situation. I don't care how big you are. These brakes are good. They stop the bike like 60 miles an hour. If you just for no reason went like that, it would throw you off, no problem at all. The brakes are really, really good. Apparently these brakes fit on this bike, no problem. So that is an upgrade I'm going to do on this bike. Get the R1 blue dot brakes on there. I think they're amazing. I have no like hesitation to recommend them. So yeah, don't worry about the brakes. I kind of think people who haven't ridden old bikes before think maybe worried they're going to break down, or they're not that fast, or you know the brakes are not that good, or the handling's a bit off. I reckon an experienced rider, even experienced amateur rider, would smoke most of you non-experienced people on a racetrack or around town or anything on one of these, on no matter what machine you're on. You could choose the fastest, most mad bike you can imagine. Someone with a bit of skill, you wouldn't see where they went on this. It's a very, very capable machine. Okay, something else just thought of. You may, if you read on forums, I've seen this written down a few times, like reading about these online. People complain about how much heat comes out of them on a hot day, especially when the fan kicks on. It seems to draw air through just around the back somewhere. It seems to be on this side. It's so hot. There's so much hot air pumping out from under the bike. It can be quite uncomfortable. When you get going, it's all right, you don't notice it. But when you stop in traffic, if the bike's already very hot, yeah, you're going to notice it. It's a bit uncomfortable. The fan kicks in about, I think it was 104, 105, 106 degrees C on the clock. And it may continue going up a little bit, and then it'll come back down again, and it seems to switch off. I don't know when it switches off, actually. It comes on about 104 or 106, I don't know, something like that. But I've never had a problem with overheating or nothing. I haven't ever, really. I have done it, but I haven't ever had to investigate anything, take all the bodywork off. I've got a new set of spark plugs and a few little things I want to do to it. But yeah, really a carefree bike to own. Like, I can't really recommend them enough. I think they're amazing. But bear in mind, if you are getting one of these, things like that, it's 20 odd years old, so it's going to show wear and tear, unless you've got new like custom parts on there. Yeah, things like hose and stuff, you need to check out all your plastics and rubber bits and whatnot. So you may have heard the values of these going up. They are, but yeah, it's the usual rules apply. The values of vehicles do go up, but only the nice ones, really. So 1, 2 owners, got to be good condition, not crashed, not thrashed, not damaged, not replacement parts, standard, not all modified, in good condition, good usable condition, been obviously well cared for, maintained, stored indoors, like dry, I don't know, it's the usual, and that's going to be difficult to find on a litre sports bike, any bike like the R1. So good luck finding one, or just get one maybe like mine's a little bit, it's got a lot of signs of use, but has actually been cared for quite well. I've certainly looked after it. This has happened in my ownership. It's stored outdoors, but I've always got the cover on it when I'm not using it, and the wind blows the cover about and wears the paint off there. I don't mind that. I kind of like the fact that it's sort of got a bit of signs of use, because it keeps me, doesn't give me any reluctance to get on it and use it as much as I want. If it's too good, too perfect, too standard, it makes you scared to touch it and put miles on it because you're worried about the value. So that's my 2 cents on the R1, my ownership review of 2 years. I'm sure more stuff's going to come to mind when I turn the camera off, but just walking around it today is what I thought of. If you got one, I'd advise get it as standard as possible. I mean, I bought a standard can for when I put it up for sale. It's going to help add a bit of value, I think. It's a little bit more standard. Yeah, wow, they're so heavy compared to aftermarket ones. There's no wonder everybody changes them. And they sound really quiet as well. Yeah, if you get one, start collecting parts. Even if you don't need them, just start looking for second-hand, like old parts for them, for returning it to standard. That's where the value is. Non-modified bikes. On a litre sports bike, it's going to be difficult to buy one standard. But there's no reason why you couldn't get one like this, a little bit used, but cared for, and then collect the parts and return it to standard yourself. You might even make some money. Good luck.